do I want to talk about today? Was thinking about, no, not that either. Oh, wait, I know. Leadership. Let's talk about leadership. It's going to be good. Are you ready? Okay. I hope you're settled in and ready for this conversation. Leadership. I know you've heard it said, leadership is all about influence. We're going to talk about that. And how many of you out there, I know I felt this way before, I have been waiting for permission to lead, when in reality, I have been leading the entire time. I'm sure you have heard this analogy before. If a tree falls in a forest, does it actually make a sound? See, we're not there to feel the feeling on the ground when the tree crashes through, making a path to land and hit the hard earth. We're not there to see the impact that happens. So what actually happened? We only see the impact after it's done. And I think in our own leadership, we ask ourselves that question all the time. When I am leading, carrying influence, what impact has actually happened? What's going on around me? Am I leaving a path, a way? Am I leaving change that happens around me? And sometimes we're not there to see the actual impact. But one day we're able to turn around and look at the path that we have made in the wake behind us. See, leadership is influence, not power. And I think too many times we get that mixed up. We think that we want to use our influence, like if you had a chainsaw and a hatchet and a saw, and you were going to go into that forest and you are going to maneuver that tree and you're going to chainsaw and hack it and do everything that you can. You're going to exert your power to make that tree fall. That is not leadership. That is using your man-made strength to move an object that wasn't ready to be moved. See, when a tree oftentimes falls in a forest, it's because it's time for it to fall. Now, a gust of wind can come along, a tornado, an act of God can come along and force that tree to move and uproot the roots. But if you go in and try to force that tree over, it is going to leave you absolutely exhausted. And I want us to stop today during this episode and evaluate our leadership. Are we influencing people to come back around one day and see the path that we have created for others to walk in? Or are we using every tool that we have and we are hatcheting the roots out of people and driving them to move? That's not healthy leadership. I think a way we can take into account our current leadership and how we are influencing is to stop and look around us to see who we are actually influencing. Because remember, leadership is influence, and you are influencing people every single day. On your worst days, you're influencing them. On your best day, you're influencing them. On your worst day, your influence could look like anger, frustration, sadness. And by using that influence, you could move people towards fear, anxiety, rage, depression. On your best day, you could use your influence and you could come at a person or a problem with peace and comfort, and you could actually move them in a direction of moving forward in confidence, in security, and in safety. You are leading people whether you want to or not. News flash. Another thing that you can do is you can look at yourself and say, where am I moving people to? So just like I said a minute ago, you can move people towards positive or negative behaviors, positive or negative movements, towards positive or negative goals. And so who are you leading and what direction are you leading them? See, too many times when we as leaders, now remember, you are a leader. Whether you want to agree with me or not, you are influencing people around you every day. So when I say leader, don't check out. I'm talking to you. So as you lead, if you lead with insecurity, and if you lead with this devalue of self, you are going to lead people in two specific directions that are going to hurt them, and it's going to hurt you. You are going to first move people into a codependent relationship with you or a system. If you are battling with insecurity, if you're battling with this belief system that you're not good enough, it is going to be easier for you to lead people somewhere to lean on a system to provide maybe the comfort and care that actually you need to bring, or maybe the family or the love or the support or the comfort that they desperately need as a human, but you're going to push them off onto a system or to someone else because you don't have enough value in yourself to step up and influence in a positive direction. You could create this codependent mechanism, and sometimes maybe in this process of influencing and leading people, you actually lead them right back around to you. Now, that's never your intention, but in your devaluing of self, you really just want someone to love you. And so if you can point people back to you, that you are their only resource, that you are the only person that can move them forward, and you don't actually point people to their own value and to our Father, you are creating a backwards loop that leads straight back to you. In the end, leading that way will put so much demand on you that it will feel absolutely unbearable. The second way that you can lead people in a negative way is you could actually lead them into your poor coping mechanisms. See, if you are wrestling with insecurities and not valuing yourself, you are naturally leaning in towards a certain coping mechanism or a few to try to get your own needs met. Maybe if you feel insecure in the way that you're leading, if it's in your business or at home or with friends, if you're wrestling with that insecurity, maybe you are going to hide when you should actually shine. Maybe you are going to call yourself an introvert, but really you're running from responsibility. Remember the tree falling in the forest, making a path? I had a friend say this one time, and it was brilliant. He said, "Leaders are willing to brave the wild without promise of success, strictly for the hope of a better future to those that will one day outlive him." You know what I think about? Have you ever seen the shows on television when they're in the backwoods of Alaska? And it always, I always think to myself, there's no way that I could probably live the life that they live. They are in the woods, in a cabin. They have to go to an outhouse to use the bathroom, wood burning furnaces. And all the while they're outside having to get wood and create these paths. And they have these, backpacks on their backs. And one day I was watching and I'm like, wait a second, that's not a backpack. That's a baby. They do all of these outrageous feats with children all over them. It's fascinating. They've got maybe one in the front and one in the back, and they're cleaning chicken poop. And I mean, the things they can do with kids on their back, it kind of cracks me up. But I am a fan. I want to say that. But one particular episode I won't forget, there was this dad, and he, in true fashion, had a kid on his back in a backpack driving a snowmobile, and he was intentionally making a new path to be able to get somewhere to get wood for their little cabin in the snowy mountains all alone. And he was willing to do whatever it took for ever long as it took to make the path straight and clear so that one day his child could use the same path in the same cabin to the same forest, and it would be easier. And this dad, I mean, he spent days creating a path. He would ride out with his baby on his back, and he would make headway. He would encounter an obstacle. He would do whatever it took to get over the obstacle. When the sun would go down, he would go back home in a place of safety. Then he would go back again the next day and do it again. Every day making a little further headway. And as leaders, really isn't that what we're doing? As we influence people around us and as we are creating paths for them to become successful in their own right and in their own way, for them to be able to one day stand on our shoulders and be better, stronger, and faster than we were, that it takes us being so diligent to continue to clear a path, even though we might not know if when the tree fell and the path was created, that there was ever a sound. That is healthy leadership. When you think more about someone else than you do yourself. Here's your call to action. Now, as leaders, as we influence others, sometimes we can find ourselves maybe leading ahead of everyone and feeling alone. So this particular call to action, you're going to need some reinforcements. Listen, if you look around and you have gone the furthest and the fastest and there's no one around you that is ahead of you, I'm wondering if you've created a path in the wrong direction. So if you have found yourself digging a trench, creating a path, and no one is around you, first and foremost, I want you to stop and I want you to find someone that has gone further than you have gone, that's created a path for you. Because I promise, as far as you've gotten, there's someone that's ahead of you. I just need you to turn around and look around. Once you find that person, I want you to ask them to come into close proximity with you. And I want you to ask them 2 questions. Who am I leading? When you look into my life, when you look into my sphere of influence, what people group, what organization, who am I leading? Who do I have influence on? The second thing I want you to ask them, and this is really important, where am I leading them? Am I leading them back to myself? Am I leading them into a poor way of coping with their life? Or have I created a path for them, for their future, and they're actually running ahead of me now? I want to encourage you. You have more in you than you realize. You have the ability to lead people, places, organizations into purpose. You have what it takes. You can do it.